Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Together for LA webinar that is taking place today on digital presence and strategies for small businesses. We are the LA EDC and the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation, powered by our partners that are strategically part of the Together for LA program. Welcome you this morning and thank you for joining us. I am Angela Amirkhanian, Program Manager for Together for LA, as well as your webinar moderator this morning. LA EDC is a 501c3 nonprofit public benefit organization whose mission is to harness the power of private sector in collaboration with Los Angeles County to guide economic development and create more widely shared prosperity. This webinar is brought to you by Together for LA. Together for LA is a new program that LA EDC powers in collaboration with our strategic partners, and our mission is to strengthen and support women and diverse-owned small businesses as we recover and reopen after the pandemic. This program is generously funded by Wells Fargo. LA EDC has always been providing technical assistance that is available to you at no cost. Complimentary and confidential assessments are available to businesses and industries of all size. We have a team of multilingual business assistance experts that serve small businesses LA County-wide and region-wide. We are happy to schedule some time with today's attendees to do a further assessment of your needs and determine, what some resources might be helpful for you so that you can grow and hire and remain resilient. And on this slide, we have a few general technical assistance resources and services that we provide, including workforce training and development, permitting assistance, cost containment strategies, financing opportunities, access to capital, including any grants and loans that come up, cost containment, programs for manufacturers. We also provide the webinar series, which today's webinar is part of, that we provide topics on educational resources that are helpful to you, and so on. I am very happy to introduce today's guest presenter. Ines Nasri is joining us this morning, and she is the CEO and founder of WebPower. So thank you so much, Ines, for joining us. She is a women-owned business that we always love supporting and giving a shout out to. So thank you to Ines for joining us this morning, and she is here to present digital presence and strategies for small businesses. I do want to also share a little bit more information on Ines. She is the founder and CEO of WebPower, which is a digital marketing agency in Los Angeles. That is definitely not all that she does. She's also a technology optimist, trainer, educator, international speaker, digital marketing specialist, IT engineer, and so much more. And WebPower is is truly an expert in this realm because they always, provide the latest technologies to take digital marketing to the next level and especially assist businesses in growing. So I'm going to pass it over to Ines to go ahead and kick off her presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Angela. Thank you so much for the warm introduction. Thank you for having me. And I'm so happy to be part of this amazing program. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. So, I've been working with business leaders, business owners, CMOs, CEOs for the last 14 years, whether it was in conferences, workshops I was part of as We Can Go Next, and also part of my MBA classes next. Part of events I hosted, organized myself, like LA Digital Day back in May 2020, and in my MBA classes as well next. So, and this was, yeah, different keynotes. Next. Yeah, that was in Portugal. Next, and many more events. So, next again, next again. Yes, and that was in different parts of the world, right? And I can talk about all the common issues business leaders are facing worldwide, the common issues they're facing. And if I had to pick only one common issue, that would be the lack of digital awareness, lack of digital culture, if you will, lack of digital readiness. And that's something that is not acceptable in the digital world we're living in. So I heard things like, I'm not a tech person, I'm not a digital person, I'm not a computer person also, from CEOs, from, lawyers, doctors, coming from different, industries and backgrounds. And that's really worrisome because it signals, to me, like I'm not a worker bee, I don't need to care about the implementation of everything digital. I don't need to be really savvy in everything digital. Basically, I have people, doing this for me. And all I need to do is read the reports and make the decisions. And that's really dangerous from my understanding, because in the world we're living in, a world that is more and more digitized, you need to be aware, you need to be tech ready, digital ready as a business leader, because the world we're in is coming with new challenges, new risks, and new opportunities that you as a business leader, you absolutely need to be aware of. So let me take a second and go back to the title of our today's workshop. So let me ask you a quick question. When you read the title of our today's workshop, what came to your mind when you read digital presence? Feel free to share with us in the chat box or in the comment section, depending on the platform you're joining us from. And usually this is the answer that I get. Next. Usually the answers are like website, social media accounts, that's part of our digital presence, any brand's digital presence, blogs, etc. And these are basically your digital assets. Any digital asset exists in a digital format and comes with the right to use and with the access rights as well. So these are your digital assets. I can't insist enough on you as business leaders, having full control of those assets. Let me give you this quick example. Next. I want you to think about your digital assets this way. Let's say you have a property, right? Let's say this is your property and you will need someone to, clean it for you or do any kind of work for you in this property. What would you do? Next, you will give them the key to access to this property, right? If you're not available to give them access yourself. Now you're going to give them a copy, very likely, of your keys. Are you going to give them your keys and lock yourself out of your own property? You will never do that, right? This is the same mindset you need to have when you think about your digital assets. Think about your digital assets, about your virtual digital property, if you will. You always need to keep control. You need to have control over all your digital assets. Let me tell you this, every single week in my digital marketing agency, I meet with a few business owners who don't know who is the owner of their domain name, who forgot the login access information of their hosting, or they don't really have access to the back end of their website, don't know who is the owner of their Facebook page, for instance. I'm talking about being the owner, not having admin access, and many, many other things. And they are disempowered because they don't have full access. Next. So what I want you to do now is think about those questions right there. Next, ask yourself those questions how many of you, for instance, don't know who is the owner of their domain name right now? How many of you don't know how many people are there in their Facebook page as admins, as like, you know, editors? Who is the owner of your Facebook page? Is it your digital marketing agency? Is it your in-house team? Who is the owner? So my point here is for you as a business leader to have the control over your digital assets for your brand, right? So if it takes you more than, let's say, 15 seconds to answer those questions, then my advice to you is to take 30 minutes or so after this webinar, right after our webinar, and take the time to gather all those information and investigate and make sure you have control over all your digital assets. That's so important. You are going to work over, you know, the lifetime of your brand. You're going to work with many professionals, many agencies, and that's fine. Even with your in-house team, that's fine. But the thing is that you need to have complete control over your digital assets, right? Next. And when I talk about control, I mean, of course, having access information, logging information and all that, but also having the information of ownership, right? Who is managing, who is doing what, right? And also having the control to give or take away any access rights to anybody who is working for you. And now we are talking about digital asset management, right? It maybe looks like a kind of fancy, you know, expression. It's not. It's not. That's what I want to share with you today. Everything digital is not complex. You as a business owners and business leaders, you are already dealing with so many complex issues. And if you are still here, you're doing it successfully at some point. So everything digital is just common sense. The moment you get that, you'll be able to understand and learn anything digital. So digital asset management, to keep a long story short, is basically about you gathering all the information that allow you to access and have control over your assets. You can start basically with a let's say Excel spreadsheet, as simple as that. You don't need to, you know, enroll in anything or buy any, you know, software or anything. That's another level, but the simplest way you can do it is with a simple Excel spreadsheet. You just put in the information you need to collect if you don't have that, and keep it up to date over time, right? You need to have a centralized somewhere and make sure that the right people, only the right people, have access to this document, okay? So that's what you need to be aware of as a start before thinking about any strategy whatsoever. If you don't have access to that, you're not aware of that, that's gonna be maybe blocking you somewhere over, you know, the road. And I saw, you know, many projects with business leaders who were delayed, and you know, they need that project to start the SEO, the social media management, whatever, because they were struggling to have access to the right information, depending on who you are working with, right? So you need to start by doing this. Let me get back to our question. If you can go next. So when we talked about digital assets, think about also your logo, your source files, think about your illustrations, think about your videos, all the content, the digital content that you are creating for your brand, for your marketing. For instance, if I was running for, let's say, a restaurant chain, or I'm a restaurant owner, it would be very interesting for me to have a photo of our, let's say, very first menu or very first meal that we served many, many years ago, or the photo of our first front, store, that kind of thing. That would be very valuable for you as a brand. And moreover, you can use this content and repurpose it in your social media, accounts, and for your social media management. It's always interesting to have, for instance, a post, kind of throwback post where we're going to be talking about how you started back in the days. And that's gonna also add some credibility, to your brand. You're gonna look more legit, and you have history and expertise in whatever it is that you're doing. Just, to stick to this very simple example. So centralizing, gathering, making sure that all the content, the digital content that you're creating and that you're paying for, definitely, in a way or another, is centralized, is there for your brand to use it, and you're kind of building this brand legacy over time. That's, from my understanding, what you need to do before even talking about anything else. And that's going to make it easier for you to move forward with any type of digital marketing strategy. Okay, let's go next. Now let's get back to our question. When I told you what comes to your mind when you read digital presence. So that's definitely those digital assets that you should hopefully have control over, but it's also another set of presences that you're not sure to have control over, like for instance, reviews that are shared by your clients, like some listings, some directories. You might have access to some, but some are just going to add your business without you even having to input your business yourself. So influencers, for instance, or micro-influencers talking about your products, your services, sharing, maybe they're unboxing some of your products. So also the way you show up in the search engine results pages, that's basically what shows up when you Google something. To take the example of Google, that's the search engine results pages. So all of these are things that you don't necessarily control, and all of that with your digital assets that builds your digital presence. All of that is basically the way you show up online, the way your business appears online for your clients and potential clients. You need to be aware of that. You need to be of your digital presence in order to start controlling it and understanding where you need to go from there, and where does your brand and your business stand from the competition, right? Now, let me stop for a second and talk about SEO, about the SERPs, right? The way your brand shows up, to the world, to your potential client, is very, very important. And sometimes I get this answer in my workshops, and business owners are like, okay, I already need to deal with so many other things, and there's a lot going on with the business, and I already have enough on my plate. Why do I need to be aware of that? Why do I need, on top of that, to educate myself on everything digital, right? Like, for instance, SEO is one of the scariest things for business owners for many, many reasons. Now, my answer is always this one. I'm aware that you need to invest at least time and energy, if not budget, to educate yourself as a business leader to everything digital. It's not only digital marketing, but today our topic is that, everything about digital transformation and much, much more. Now, I'm aware of that, but I want you to think about it this way. There is a cost for you to learn everything digital, definitely, but try to think about the cost of digital ignorance. Try to think about it this way. Think about all the risks, think about all the opportunities that you're missing because you are not informed, because you're not empowered, because you didn't learn and invest the time to empower yourself. That's a huge elephant right there. I'm aware of that, but how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Depending on your schedule, a few minutes a day, more time during the weekend, whatever, find whatever works for you. But you need to keep in mind that digital education for business leaders is key. It's not an option anymore. Okay, next. So yeah, that's what I always say and think, is that ignorance of digital marketing for business leaders, that's a silent killer over time for any business, right? Or any brand. You need to educate yourself before talking about any, strategies. You can find over the internet hundreds, thousands of blog posts talking about strategies and try this and do that. And we made X amount of money by applying this exact strategy. I'm not telling you don't do that. Go ahead and try and test and learn. That's absolutely amazing. But before going, this road, educate yourself so you know the value, you know why you're doing this, why you're doing that, and being able to tweak that for your own benefit and customize whatever strategy to your own, brand, right? Next. So my promise to you for the few coming minutes that we still have together is that I'm gonna try as much as I can to share with you simple tips, very easy to use, free tools for you, and hopefully many actionable takeaways when it comes to learning and understanding SEO. The reason why I'm talking about SEO is because it impacts heavily many other, digital marketing strategies. If you have a website that is not optimized, that's gonna impact your paid ads campaigns. That's gonna impact your CPC, your cost per click if you're doing Google ads, because if you're trying to reach a specific audience for specific keywords and your website is not optimized for that audience, for those keywords, chances are you're going to end up paying higher CPC, and that's going to be over time a higher cost than you taking care of your SEO and optimizing your website at the first place. And I have, business owners who reach out to my team and they're like, we want to do ads right away. That's what we want to do. And when we look at their website, their website is just terrible. And we know that the cost is going to be high and the campaign is likely to, fail. And then we're like, no, we can't do this for you. You're going to be disappointed and you think that we're not doing well, but this is what you need to do first. You're going to earn more and you're going to save more over time, basically. Another strategy, digital marketing strategy that is impacted by the quality of your website, by your SEO, is Facebook ads as well, and let's say social media ads. The more qualified traffic you have on your website, the more people, the more potential clients you will be able to retarget later on, right? That's food for your campaigns. And if we stick to the example of Facebook ads, to retarget people, you need to have people showing up at your website first, right? And this can be done easily by SEO, not easily, but this is something that you can definitely work on over time. Next. So to keep a long story short, you need, for people who are not familiar with SEO or who think that SEO is a complex thing, and that they definitely need to delegate or they don't want to do it because they don't understand it, think about it that way. It's like I said before, you're already dealing with much more complex concepts, right? Think about it as the practice of optimizing a website and increasing a given website traffic. You need to focus on two different things: the volume of the traffic numbers, right, of people visiting your website, and the quality of the traffic. Just to give you a quick example, I had a meeting with one of our potential clients last week, and this client was a huge company, and they were interested in, they basically build steel doors for huge, infrastructures and properties, and they were interested in, the specific type of projects, like a, 250K type of project within like a $10 million property and that kind of things, because they were around for a long time, and that's where they want to go with their business. And then with the previous team, SEO team they were using, they were having calls and emails every single day. Guess about what? About people, from people that want, somebody to fix, a broken door somewhere. See what I mean? And the reason why is basically the wrong keywords. And they were very, very frustrated, and they were like, okay, maybe SEO doesn't work, and they were not very happy. But after, auditing and having a good conversation, they finally understood that keywords, the website is optimized, everything is perfect, but it didn't work when it comes to the keywords, and they were not educated. And if you are with a good agency, the agency needs to educate you, so you are part of the decision, and you know what's going on, and you know how are they spending your hard-earned marketing dollars. So let's go to the SEO, and I promise this is the only definition today. So that's basically increasing and optimizing your website and increasing both volume and traffic quality. Of course, the goal is sales, but you have also brand awareness and different other things, right? All of that through organic search, meaning that you're not basically paying the bot. You're not paying Google, for instance, to display your ads, but you're definitely paying someone to do this for you. Next. So SEO can be scary, like I said, because people think it's complex, but I will try today to empower you, give you a few tools so you understand what this is about. And if you stick with us till the end, I'm going to give you access to a more comprehensive resource so you keep educating yourself. Next. So why do I think that this is important for you as a business leader again? Next. If you are working with a digital marketing agency, again, you need to be aware, or a professional, you need to be aware of what's going on. You need to speak the same language as your team, even an in-house team. You need to understand, not just, read the numbers and not be aware of what's going on behind the scenes. If you're hiring somebody also, you need to speak the same language. If you're not happy with what you're having, if you're unsure if you are making the most out of your digital presence, your website, if you're unsure if what budget you're spending, your ad spend is optimized, different things, you need to empower yourself with this type of knowledge. Now, where you can start is here. You can start with very basic knowledge, very basic concepts, and that's what I'm about to share with you in the few coming minutes. Next. So this is a big deal. This is very important, and to keep a long story short, I'm going to tell you this. The way any bot, and especially Google bot, decides on how to rank, where to rank your URLs, your pages, is based on criteria, right? That's just common sense. Now we're talking about, professionals talk about 200 plus in my, that's what I believe, 200 plus ranking criteria that the bots are using to rank your content. Now, you as a business leader, you don't need to be technical. You don't need to go really deep into the details, but you need to understand this. SEO is about technical, experience and technical, knowledge, definitely, but it's mostly about one major thing. If you would keep and remember only one concept, that's user experience. User experience. The better the experience you provide to your users on your website, the more the higher you're gonna rank in the SERPs, in the search engine results pages. And if you want to break down this user experience, we can break it down here. You can see page level factors, for instance, domain factors, site level factors, and these are different categories. To keep a long story short, let's say the example of page level factors, that's basically, for instance, how well are your pages loading, for instance, how fast do your pages load on basically, and especially on mobile devices, but also on laptops. How fast does they load? And the reason why I'm talking about speed, if you link this to the concept of user experience, everything makes sense. It's not a good user experience for your potential client and website visitors to wait for 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds. Nobody does that. We always bounce and we are frustrated about this experience. So that's key. Now, Also, the type of content you are sharing, the word count is important. If I've seen, for instance, websites that we're auditing with only 100 or so words, pages with only 100 or 200 words, right? And these are content pages, not, the contact us or something. So what can you share really with your potential clients? What type of value? Not sure that this is really what you need. So word count matters. The type of content you're sharing, is it just text or is it photos plus infographics plus videos? All of that matters to, keep a story very, very short. So that's the type of thing that you want to look into when you are optimizing your website. Site level factors is another very large category, but for instance, think about it that way. When we look at the site level factors, when we audit the website, one thing we look at is the website architecture. That's, for instance, how many clicks does it take to your potential client to reach the most important content on your website? For instance, if they're going to order food or whatever, how many clicks does it take them to go there? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks, or is it more like 8, 9, 10, and it's really complex and complicated for them to get there? So we look at the user experience, the overall user experience, and while we audit and while we look at the technical details. The moment you understand that SEO is about user experience, the moment you get that, everything else just falls in place and makes sense. Okay, next. So I'm about to share with you a few, tips and few tools that you can use to audit your own website and look very quickly to your website. You don't need, again, any technical knowledge whatsoever, any paid tools, nothing. Okay. The first thing that you can do is just look at your URL, nothing else. Don't do anything else. You don't even need any tool. Just look at your URL. And if you see on your URL, like before your domain name, before the www, if you see a padlock, sometimes it's gray, sometimes it's green. If you see something like that, chances are your website is equipped with an SSL. It's secure. Your URL is secure. Now, what is the quality? What type of SSL? Is it set up properly? When does it expire? All of those, you can have a conversation with your SEO people and go more in depth, but you need to know that this is something that is important for your website. You need to have it. Next. I had in a few workshops, people saying, well, but I don't sell anything on my website. I'm not collecting any personal information. Why do I need to invest in SSL? And again, that's not expensive at all. All you need to do is talk to your hosting company. They can do it for you. That's also an option. And you can see here that people from Google are clearly saying that you should always protect all of your websites with HTTPS. That's all of your websites, even if they don't handle sensitive communication. I don't think that I need to comment on that. That's something basic. You absolutely need to have it, no question. Next. Another thing that you can check is your web server response. Now, maybe the web server might be, okay, you might think, okay, like this is becoming too technical. It's not. I'm going to explain it to you in 2 or 3 seconds. You'll see it's really, really easy to understand. So first things first. So what happens when you click on a link or you type in a URL, your browser on the left side of the screen basically sends a request to a web server. The request is, hey, send me the content that goes with this URL. It's as simple as that. And then the server will see if it has the content for this specific URL. Next. If it has the content, that's fine, wonderful. You're gonna see the web page that goes with that URL. If it doesn't, the server is gonna send an error. Next. If the server is gonna be like, okay, I don't have the content for this URL, right? And you might end up seeing a 404, that's the 404 error, that's exactly what it means. and you might see something ugly, right, like that in your browser. Next. So if you think about this from a user experience perspective, that's definitely not a good user experience for your visitors. So what you need to do is to customize it. And customizing it is very simple for somebody who's dealing with your website. You just need to be aware of that. Next, the way you can see, you can determine and find out if your website has those server answers customized is, again, very, very basic. All you need to do is head to your website, click on any URL, like here on our website, and just pick somewhere in the URL and type in some random letters, numbers, whatever. Chances are this URL doesn't exist really in your website. This is not part of your URLs, right? So you should receive an answer, a server answer saying that, hey, this URL does not exist. That's one of the ways you can determine if your website server answers are customized, right? And then you'll take it from there. If it is customized, that's fine. Now, how is it customized? That's another thing. If it's not customized and you're paying someone to do your SEO in-house or whatever, there is something missing, because that is just very, very basic, right? That's something that should be done the first few days, you know, when somebody starts working on your optimization. Next. And, you know, it's gonna go fast from here. These are a few examples next of, you know, customized, yeah, web server answers. You can take it really to the next level and play with it. My preferred ones are the ones where you don't just, you know, customize the server answer. Yeah, that's Amazon, for instance, taking it really to the next level. If we could go back for a second, the ideal answer is, of course, a customized answer, but not just any customization. We would like to keep people on your website. So ideally, you would, for instance, share information about your website. You would, for instance, reorient them, redirect them to another section of your website, or for instance, put the recent blog post, some links to your recent blog posts there. Or what you can do as well is share the last post from your social media. I mean, you have so many other possibilities. Not charging.
We apologize for the little break. Ines will be right back. I believe she is charging her plugging in her laptop. And we'll move on to additional tips in just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, before we get Ines back, I do want to mention our website for everyone to take a look at after the webinar. Please jot down this very important website, which is LAEDC's specific small business resources website. It's laedc.org/coronavirus. As we receive and learn about new resources, programs, grants, and loans, we immediately put them on this website. We have a wonderful filter system as well, where a small business can narrow down and filter by business type or the type of resource you're looking for. And then based on exactly what you're looking for, you can narrow down all of the resources to further look into, as well as learn more about, direct links to click through and apply for a specific grant or loan opportunity. So go ahead and visit laedc.org/coronavirus and take a look at all of the great resources that are available to you. And Ines, we're ready when you are. And I do see a question coming in. If you can receive a link to the presentation, absolutely. I know that a lot of presentation is being presented today. A recording of today's webinar will be posted to our website later on this week, which will also be at laedc.org/coronavirus. And Ines has provided us with some additional documents that I will be emailing to everyone after the event. But for those that missed it as well, you can take a look at all of the past webinars that we posted, as well as a schedule of our upcoming events. Ines, do we have you back on?
Yes, I'm back in just in a second. Again, sorry about that.
No worries.
I still don't get what happened, but yeah, you should see me in a second.
Okay.
Just let me know when everything is fine. And again, I apologize for that. I still need to understand what happened.
No
But
worries.
yeah, just 1 second. Thank you.
Mhm. And if anyone has any questions, we will spend a few minutes towards the end of the presentation to answer some questions with Ines. So go ahead and use the Q&A function on the toolbar to type in your questions. I also do want to mention that for those interested in LAEDC's Technical Assistance Program, all you would need to do is visit the website that I mentioned, laedc.org/coronavirus, and there is a Contact Us button. So if you take a look at that, if you click on that button, it is a short intake form. So we want to learn a little bit more about your needs and areas of where we can assist you. So go ahead and fill that out, and it'll directly go to our Together for LA regional manager, who can actually schedule some time to do a one-on-one further assessment. So please go ahead and take a look at the Contact Us section of the website. And we have Ines joining us back, so I am going to pass it over to her.
So yeah, thank you, and sorry for this brief interruption. So yeah, when it comes to customizing your server answers, it's definitely a good idea to try to keep people in your brand environment. And when I say brand environment, I'm talking about your website, of course, but you can also use your social media as your brand environment, and share, like I said, social media posts with your people, your visitors, with people on your website, so that they can, if they didn't find what they're looking for on your website, they can also visit your social media. If you can go next. Yes, that's another thing that you can check on your website, again, without having any specific, technical knowledge. That's robots.txt. That's a tiny, file that you need to have on your website. You don't need, again, any technical knowledge to determine if it's there or not. All you need to do, just like you see here on the left side of the screen, you need to type in the URL of your website and then add robots, literally robots, type in robots.txt. That's all you need to do. Next. So you should see something like that, right? You don't need to understand everything in that, but if you look, you take a closer look for a second, you'll see that it's basically this allows and allows. That's the main goal of this file. It's to tell robots where to go and where not to go on your website, and make it easier for them to crawl your website, among other things. So if the page shows you something like that, that means that you have a robots.txt and that is optimized. Chances are it is optimized, but at least you have some content there. You can also see a blank page. That means that robots.txt is there, but it's empty, no instructions are there. You can also see an error, and that means that you don't have your robots.txt set up. And that's, again, a very basic thing to do when you are optimizing a website. So if you have somebody doing this for you, you need to make sure that this is there, because that's just basic, right? Next. Next. Yeah, that's another basic research that you can do. It's another tip, another thing that you can try to audit your website and your digital presence. All you need to do here is to type in your brand name, your company name, and see what pops up in the first page of Google. The idea for you is to own this page, literally own this page, meaning that what you should see there is your website. You should see your social media accounts. You should see probably blog posts from your website, anything that you have control over. Like here, for instance, you can see directories where our company is mentioned. You can see also people talking about your products, you know, different kinds of things. But the most important thing is that they are mentioning your brand in a positive context, right? You don't want to see somebody, you know, writing a blog post complaining about your services or whatever it is. You need to own this page, not only own it, but own it in a positive way, right? And also, if you have a look at the right side of your screen, you would see a section where your company is listed. That's your Google My Business. And I'll be talking about Google My Business a little bit more in depth in a few minutes, but that's another opportunity for you to show up properly and in a very bright way on the SERPs. Next. So yes, you need to check, what do you get? Do you get what your website directory reviews, and like I said, anything that is related to your presence, or do you have negative reviews? And I saw websites, you know, and companies that, you know, you see their competitors showing up there. You see, for instance, bad reviews, like I said, and that's something that you definitely, one, need to be aware of. Two, you need to take care of. Okay. Next. Next. Yes, that's a huge one. I really want to make sure that you are aware when it comes, aware about all the opportunities that image SEO provides you with. And that's a very overlooked thing. Next. So image SEO is all about optimizing the visual experience of your website visitors. It's all about images. So let me give you a very quick example. Let's see, we have two different websites that are displaying those two photos. See, these are the same photos. Let's look at the first photo file name. This is the image file name. It says chocolate-cream-cupcakes.jpg. On the other hand, we can read photoshoot_cupcake. And there's a misspelling right there, and then dash, and then 16, 7GT, whatever, photo W04T. For me, this is how you need to look at that. It's just like if the first website is optimizing, it's trying to optimize the image and the whole website for the keywords chocolate, cream, cupcakes. And it's just like if the second website is trying to optimize itself and its images for the keywords photoshoot, cupcake, 16, whatever. Who is going to type that? Are your potential clients going to type that? Not sure. See what I mean? So your file names are important. Your file names are important. There are plugins that will help you to do that. You don't need to care a lot about that, care much. These are technical details, but you need to be aware that this is something that needs to be taken care of. You can't just name your photos in whatever way and expect your website to bit by bit rank high. It's, you know, a lot of different components and a lot of different things that you need to take care of. Next. So one very easy thing that you can do is to simply choose one of the photos on your website, right-click on it, and open it in a new tab. It doesn't work all the time, but in some websites, depending on how your website was developed on the platform you're using, but if it works, next, this is what you need to see. You will see the URL of this image, and you'll be able to test it. Do it once or twice, and you will have an idea of what is, how are your image files named. Next. Now that I'm going to share with you also a tool that will help you do that in an automatic, very easy way, so you don't need to do it in a manual way. So image quality, next, also matters. That's part of the visual experience. Images who are blurry, who are, you know, truncated or whatever, are definitely not providing a good user experience. Next. And there are so many stock photo websites that provide you very high quality free images. And I left, like Angela said earlier, I left a list of different platforms that you can use to come up with different good quality photos. But again, the best photos for me and unique photos are your photos, the one you create for your business, okay? Next. Another thing, really quick, is the file size. The file size, that's the images. I've seen so many people just uploading, especially if you are a business owner and you're a micro company or, you know, a small business and you're doing it in-house or by yourself. They just upload photos from their phone, and, you know, sizes are just crazy. They go through the roof, and that's going to impact the overall size of your file, and that's going to impact your website speed, definitely. Next. That's the tool. Next, that's a very useful tool, free to use, at least the free version. You can still have a lot of value using this tool. So it looks maybe a little bit, you know, overwhelming, but it's not. If you have a closer look, all you need to do to use it is to type in the URL of your website right there, and you click a button. That's all you need to do. It's going to crawl your website, and it's going to show you, if you look at the right below the logo, you see different tabs. All you need to do is to click on the image tab. It's going to show you all the URLs of your images, and you can have a closer look and have at a glance, have a quick idea about how your images are named. Not only that, but if you look at the second column, it says, you know, size, and you can see the sizes of all your images, and you can sort them. And if you see that you have images with 3 megabytes, 4 megabytes, crazy numbers like that, you know that there's something wrong, something is missing, and you need to do something about it ASAP. Next. That's one tool, very easy tool. Try it. Again, Angela is going to send you the list of every single tool I mentioned here. Very easy to use. It's drag and drop based, and that's going to resize your image files just like that and keep the quality as well. Next. You can go ahead and audit your images right after this webinar and see if ever you need more work done on them. Next. So next, that's another great tool. It's a Google tool. It's a free tool. And again, very, very easy to use. That's the Google PageSpeed Insights. That's a tool that, you know, literally need to do a copy paste of your URL to use it, and just click on Analyze. Next, what it's going to show you is two different scores. A score on mobile for your website, right? How fast is your website loading? How well are you doing on mobile devices? But also, how well are you doing on desktop? That's another great tool that you can use. You should be somewhere close to 90, if not above. If you're really far from that, again, you know what to do. You need to take action, because your website is literally leaving money on the table, right? Next. And that's another great tool, another Google free tool, very easy to use, same concept. You just copy paste the URL of your website and it's gonna show you how friendly, how mobile friendly is your website. And if there are any issues, with your website, that's the tool that you need. And if your website is not mobile friendly, again, that's a huge issue and you need to take action immediately. Next. So I want to go back and talk about Google My Business because that's, again, another resource that is overlooked, and that's a really, really good tool, especially if you want to rank for, keywords that are location-based, right? You need to take care of it, and it's so easy to create your own Google, optimize it, and to maintain it. That's another thing I want to insist on. A lot of people think that it's a set it and forget it type of thing. When it comes to your Google My Business, it's not that way. You need to set it, definitely. I'm going to talk about this in a second, but also you need to maintain it. Next. So creating your Google My Business is really, really easy as creating an email account, but I want you to pay attention to all the type of one-time information you need to add. That's your name, your address, your categories. Make sure you input and you complete every single section. That's important. It's going to take a little bit more time, but definitely invest this time because you're very likely to do it once or update it very, very few times. Also, make sure you have the owner-generated questions, and that comes from the questions that you hear usually from your clients. You want to go and answer those questions already. So when people call you or reach out to you, they already have those answers. So that's one-time setup. Next. Make sure, again, you write the business description. Now, if you have somebody doing it for you, you can ask them to optimize it. They should be able to optimize it for you and use the right keywords as well. Next. And like I said earlier, there is another, phase, that's the ongoing optimization. So it's not, like I said, a set it and forget it type of thing. You will need to update your hours, your work hours, and look up the reviews, answer people's questions, but also you can post on your Google My Business, and not many people are using this feature. So what we do is usually repurpose social media posts because you already invested in those and you approved them. So why not repurpose your social media posts and basically share them on your Google My Business? And you'll be surprised to see numbers because you have the insights on the back end, and you would be surprised to see the number of people who interact and see your posts on Google My Business. Go ahead and try it. Next. Yeah, that's an example of posts, and sometimes you get people asking questions. If you can share links right there, that's another opportunity for you to drive traffic to your website as well, right from the SERP. So yeah, that's a tool that definitely you can use and optimize as well. Next. So to keep a long story short, just keep your Google My Business profile updated. Once you create it, you can see the benefit of that tool when it comes to local SEO and local based queries. I would go ahead also and add photos. That's another important thing. Photos, especially if you're in the food industry or any other industry, add photos, add unique content from your business. I see people sometimes adding photos, but what they do is that they look for photos, on the internet, and there's nothing unique, nothing that is owner generated right there. Think about adding new content that you generate, or that is generated by your clients. Also, usually see user-generated content is another good tool to leverage. Next. Yes, that's what Google says about updating your business info. So definitely updating it and keeping it alive, unlike what I'm seeing with different Google My Business listings. That's definitely a winning strategy. Next. Like I said, the expected outcome is improving visitors engagement, more phone calls, more questions, keeping people in your environment. They're more likely to click on your website button and, you're going to be taking them to your brand environment. And that's when you can convert them. And definitely it's a very, very good tool. And it's sometimes overlooked, unfortunately. Next. Last is another resource that I would share with you if you want to keep this conversation going and learn more and educate yourself more about SEO. And because you are part of this webinar, you can use this code, the TFLA08. That's the code for this SEO audit course. You can use this code to get free access to that. So it's a 9 hours course. Because you attended this webinar, I would advise you to go straight to the section where I'm talking about the ranking factors. Take your time and invest the time to go through the course. You're gonna do it once. It's gonna take a few hours for you to do it, but definitely you're gonna educate yourself about SEO once and for all. And everything else that's gonna come after is, kind of learning more and updating your knowledge about that. The code is only live and available for a few hours. So if you really want to do this, you can also, I would recommend that you do this right after the webinar. That way you make sure you have the lifetime free access and you can go through the course whenever you feel like it. Next. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. Sorry again about the short issue we had later on. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer all of them. And if you still have any questions after our webinar, reach out to the team, reach out to Angela. She will be happy to transfer those over. Thank you, Angela, again. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Ines. Excellent, excellent content. Truly very informative and educational. I know we got through a lot of information, but thank you so much for sharing really easy and available resources that businesses can really apply to their businesses today. Once again, the recording of this webinar will be up on our website if you need to go back and look at anything over again and take some notes. And also, please reach out to us via the Contact Us button on our website, whether it is digital assistance that you need, marketing assistance, or access to capital. We are really here to assist you with our no cost and confidential program. I know we are a little bit over time, so I'm going to take a couple questions before we end the program.
Sure.
And if anyone has any additional questions, please hold them to address later. But I know this is a very important question that I want to address as well, Ines. So if you can briefly address this. Is there a tool for reviewing whether a website is ADA compliant and to avoid any ADA lawsuits? I know that this is a big one for companies. So are there any tools that you may mention for ADA compliancy?
So yeah, that's a very important topic. It can be itself a topic of a whole workshop, because what I'm seeing happening is a lot of lawsuits. The number of lawsuits is growing, and I saw a number of lawsuits happening to a few friends and clients, especially since 2019. For some reason, there's more happening around that topic, but a specific tool that there are tools, definitely you can just Google them, a lot of tools on Google, but the thing is that any tool will not provide you with everything that is not working, that is making your website not compliant when it comes to this, right? What you need to do is use a tool. It's just like SEO. You need to use the tool to be aware of what's going on. But again, you need to have a professional that will go through every single thing that is not compliant with your website and fix it differently. Unfortunately, that would be amazing. as an agency, I would love to have a tool like that, but definitely you need to go one by one, and you need to have somebody that is aware about this issue, right? Not just fixing a few things and telling you that this is your compliance, right? You need definitely, and thank you for this question. That's a very, very good question. Love that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And one more question regarding the renaming of photos that you mentioned. I thought that was very interesting. Even though it seems so simple, a lot of people might be, missing that important portion. So is there an automatic plugin that would name photos, or is it really just logging in and renaming all of them with the most optimal copy?
There are definitely different plugins depending on the platform you're using and you use to develop your website. Is it a Shopify? Is it an Etsy? Is it a store? Different things. You definitely have different plugins, and some of them will allow you to add keywords, right? And just they're gonna rename it for you. The thing again is that I'm not a big fan of. I'm a fan of automation, definitely, and that's another topic we can talk about. But when it comes to SEO, the ideal, what you want to do is go over those manually, because the thing again is that you don't need to stuff, we don't want to do keyword stuffing when it comes to your image names, right? We want the name of the file to be descriptive of the content displayed in the image. So there's no way I know a lot of people won't like this answer, but I want to be really frank with you. There's no way you can completely avoid the manual work if you really want to do it the right way. Again, you don't need to do it all at once, right? Even if don't want to work with an agency, or you're not happy with whoever is working for you. But what you need to do is definitely, ideally, go over them one by one. And that's another, I want to take 1 second to talk about this topic. That's a very important question. And the reason being, what I see when people are, brands and companies are building their websites, what they usually do is that they build their website and then start thinking about the SEO and then start optimizing it, which doesn't make sense. Absolutely not. And what I advise you to do is work with an agency that either have the SEO knowledge. That way, when you're building your website, it's already optimized. Not to have somebody developing your website and then invest, on fixing the errors that were made when those people made your website, or work with them at the same time. So we have somebody building and somebody providing guidance, so that when you have, especially for large websites, when your website is ready, it's, let's say, 70% optimized, and then your agency will take it from there and optimize it. But that's a very, very, very good and important topic.
Thank you so much, Ines. You are truly an expert on this topic, and I'm very grateful that you joined us this morning, because we all know how important digital presence has been for businesses, but especially now during the pandemic and without businesses being able to operate in person, it's even more important and definitely here to stay. So it's very important for businesses, to learn and actually apply to their businesses. So with that said, Absolutely. Just a few more announcements before we end the program. Once again, please go ahead and use the Contact Us button to directly get in contact with us. Also, this webinar is part of Together for LA's webinar series, where we present 2 webinars per month, both complimentary each month, as well as educational topics. So strictly resources, programs, and topics that are going to really benefit you and are of value to small businesses. With that said, we have 2 upcoming events that I'd like to share with you. One is next week, September 2nd. It is on the new rounds that are now opening for the California Small Business COVID-19 Relief Grant Program. So it's round 7 for waitlisted applicants, round 8 and 9 for nonprofit organizations, as well as small businesses. So this is a really apply for all grant that we really encourage everyone to apply for. And then on today's topic, we have another social media related presentation with a guest speaker from J Squared Communications on the 16th. So learn 5 ways to repurpose your content for social media. And I know Ines touched on this just a little bit today. So we will be focusing on social media for the next round. And with that said, once again, thank you, Ines, for your time and dedication to assisting small businesses in learning and growing. And we really appreciate
Thank
your
you for
partnership
having me.
with us. Absolutely. And
Thank
thank you
you.
for everyone for joining us. And we hope you have a wonderful day, and we hope to see you at the next one.
Bye.